There was a home invasion at my house. I saved my husband's life, only to find out a couple months later this no good for nothing rotten piece of crap is cheating on me. Yeah, cheating on me. After we've gone through all this trauma. So you know what? I'm going to get a little bit of revenge. Sometimes you can do all you can for a person just to prove that you love them, but if they do not, then they do not. The years may pass and you may wish that one day your person will be willing to make those sacrifices for you, but if it's not there, it's not there. It's worse when the person throws you crumbs every once in a while to keep you invested in love and in service to them. Well, I'm a victim of loving someone who does not love me, and I paid for it dearly. But let me take you back to when I first met Joe. I met Joe about 5 years ago. I was working as an orthodontist, doing the work of fixing crooked teeth and jaws. I met Joe through some friends, and he was incredibly kind and intelligent. I liked that he was not pretentious like most people in the dating scene, but Joe had an insecurity, which was his crooked teeth. I obviously did not mind that his teeth were not perfect, but I never had the urge to change him. I was in love with his heart, personality, and the way he treated me. We dated for about 2 years, and then we got married. He told me not to give him a wedding present. There was just one thing that he wanted, and I agreed, thinking that it would not be something so big. He told me that he's insecure about his teeth, and he was doing some small modeling jobs already, and making some good money, but he said that he was limited because his smile was not perfect. I didn't want to change him, as if I did not love him the way that he was. So I refused multiple times, but he managed to beg and guilt trip me, and I did the work for him. I must admit, it was my best work. After I fixed his teeth, he began to book more gigs. With my salary and earnings, we were able to afford a more luxurious life. The only problem was that we rarely got to see each other because of our busy lifestyle. But he did make effort and reassured me when I was getting a bit jealous, seeing how slim his female colleagues were and how youthful they all were. I wished to look just like them, but my old friends told me that he chose me, not them. Our life was peaceful. We barely fought, and when we did, we were able to come up with a solution that day. But then he starts to act very strange. I saw that whenever he received a text, he would get jumpy. One day, a text came in, and as I was reading it, he snatched the phone from my hands, told me never to read his messages because that made me seem like a very insecure person. I responded, asking if I had a reason to be suspicious, and if he was just hiding a mistress there. He told me that my insecurities were absolutely crazy. It was not like I was not enjoying the money that he got from his job. I knew what his line of work entailed. He made me feel so small, as if I was crazy for thinking that just because my husband was attractive, he was cheating on me. He made me feel like I was seeing things that were not there, and, well, the resentment built up. For my husband to be so jumpy, of course, I was worried, and I didn't want anything to happen to him, so I did not get why he was acting like I was the crazy one. For days, things were very tense in the house, and I hated secrets. Something that he knew, but he kept them nonetheless. Finally, he told me that I did not need to be upset with him. He was just facing problems at work. And there was a crazy fan who had basically been stalking him. Then he said that he wanted to get bodyguards for us to have a little bit extra security around the house. I was spooked out, scared for my husband, and guilty for how I've been treating him when he was just worried about my safety. So, to make up for it, I told him that I would pay for the security and also share my location with him at all times, and he would do the same for me. Well, security did not come soon enough for the next evening, because there was a break-in to the house. We were about to go out for dinner when our power went off. He went to look at the fuse box while I waited for him. He was taking too long and we needed to be at the restaurant soon. So I called out to him and tried to find him using the light of my torch. Before I could even go anywhere, someone wrapped a piece of cloth around my mouth and started dragging me. And I was thrown onto the floor of the living room. Across from me was my husband as he was gagged. When he saw me, his eyes were full of panic and he told them, "Do not hurt her or I will kill you." They said that they would not hurt me, but they needed all the money in the home. He told them take everything in his wallet, which they did, but they told him that's not enough. They needed him to go open the safe. I told him to give them the money so that we could be spared, but he told me that there's nothing. I asked how could there be nothing in the safe, and he gave me a look not to say that. Sure, all our savings were in the safe, but we had some money in our banks. If they took that money, it would take a while to replace it, but money was not more important than our life. They started interrogating among themselves and pointing at him. As they were arguing, the power came back on and I saw them. They were 3 well-built men. Their faces were covered and they were wearing all black. I looked them over to see if there was any identifying characteristics that I could use to identify them when they left. And then I saw it. One of them had a hand that had a blacked out tattoo. It was very unique and very few people had it. And then the other one had heavy rings on his knuckles. While they were arguing, Joe managed to break free of his restraints and tackle the one with rings. The man got upset and threw him in my direction as if he were a rag doll and then said to him, "Now I will not spare you." Then he took out a knife. The one close to us lifted the both of us up so that my husband was in front of me. The thug raised up his hand, aiming for my husband's chest. I didn't think at that last minute. I moved off on my own accord, or I was pushed. I don't know what happened, but the knife was inside my cheek at the last moment. It got so deep inside that I could feel it hit the bone. And then he carved out the knife. There was so much blood, so much pain. The fear and pain all came together and I collapsed on the floor. I heard them running out of the living room, most likely leaving. I lay there for what felt like hours, but must have been seconds while my husband fussed over me. I was in so much shock that I didn't even cry when he touched my cheek, and his hand became oh so bloody. He kept saying, "Your face, your face, your face, your face, your face," over and over again. He finally got me up into the hospital where they stitched me up. I lost a lot of blood because of how deep the knife went. They stitched me up and, well, sent me home, telling me that it probably is not going to leave a big scar. I could not leave the house for days, and he had to be the one to make sure that I ate or bathed. I kept on replaying the scene of the knife aimed at his chest and thought to myself, being the one who was taking him to the hospital with a chest wound. He kept on saying that, yes, I saved his life. He loves me. Even more each day, but it was like I was looking at a life through the glass. My wound did not get better, as I've been told, and I was back in the hospital with a deep infection the next week. It didn't properly heal, and it left a terrible scar on my face. The doctor wanted to do skin grafts, but we did not have the money, and the thought of anything being done to my face took me back to that night. I had nightmares for days, jumped out at any sudden sound, and broke into a sweat if my husband was offline for too long. For weeks, it was my life. I was unable to get to work and work with both people because every surgical instrument took me back. But I grew tired of it, especially when my parents wanted to take me back home so that I could stay with them and recover. I grew angry, realizing that those people had won and taken my livelihood from me when they broke in. I wish they've taken the money instead, but I didn't have the strength to fight with my husband over why he refused to give them the money. I had too much on my mind, and I just needed to clear it. So I did what I do when I faced trauma. I disassociated and put it all back in my head. When I had nightmares, I took more sleeping pills. When I was at work, I forced myself to work without thinking of it, and for a while it worked. Thank goodness for my assistant, Carla, who understood what happened to me and made my life so much easier. She even set my personal appointments and had access to a lot of my accounts in case I needed her to book me anything. Since, I had a one-track mind for the duration of that period. I did not notice that something was up with my husband once again. But I noticed he was not very affectionate with me anymore. It did not make me feel better when I found out that we were people I considered friends who were gossiping about my face. My self-esteem went to rock bottom, and I did not blame him for not making time for me. The only person I was open to about this was my sister, and do you know what she did about it? She drove all the way across the country to visit me and give me a day of pure pampering. She also gave me the strength to carry on, telling me that I was beautiful inside and out, and she made me feel silly for even thinking that he would lose attraction to me. It was while my sister was visiting that she caught him talking to another woman on the phone, a woman that he called KK. He said that he missed her and he was going to see her that night because his wife had a meeting at 7. As soon as my sister told me, I did not have a doubt. I knew something was going on and I was going to find it out and get to the bottom of it. We've been through so much together. Was my situation so bad that he would stray? I wanted to see this KK for myself, and if my assumptions as an affair months ago were actually real, and I wasn't crazy, and if he was the one making me think that I was mad. He was the mad one who made the mistake of answering the phone when he was at home. But there was a problem. He had access to my GPS tracker and would not leave the house if I have not left already. Thank goodness for my sister who was looking out for me. Sure enough, I was getting ready for my meeting and he told me that he had an emergency shoot and he would be home much later. I told him I loved him and wished him luck on the shoot, and then he left. 5 minutes after he left, I got into my sister's car and she got into mine. And then she went to the meeting with my phone. She was going to offer my apologies and stay long enough for him not to be suspicious that I was not right behind him. I found him. He was at a restaurant on the very outskirts of town where I've never been before. It was very dodgy, with some interesting characters hanging about. I started to have second thoughts about following him there, but with pure determination I carried on. I repeated my mantra, "You will not be afraid." If he was not cheating on me, then I would be relieved, but would feel shame if he was. It would break me. I would choose shame over heartbreak every single day. I walked up the steps and entered the dimly lit establishment. It did not take me 2 seconds to recognize him sitting in a booth at the back. I stood behind a pillar. It was directly adjacent to him and saw that he was deeply engrossed in a conversation with my blushing assistant, Carla. KK. Her hand kept reaching for her across the table while he probably gave her false promises, and then they sealed the betrayal with a kiss. I felt a sharp pain in my heart. I stepped back and bumped into a wall, except it was not a wall. I saw that blacked out hand that reached out to keep me from falling, twirling me around so I could see the face of the owner. And then I was eye to eye with one of my attackers. Ice ran through my blood as I stared him in the eyes. I would never mistake him. And then, crash! I knocked away the tray of food that he was carrying, all in my bid to get the heck out of there. I knew this was a bad idea. I should not have come here. As I ran through the restaurant, I was hurrying so much that I tripped over my own feet and fell. And then I heard, "Easy there, tiny lady," and the cold voice of a man who scared me. He offered his hand to me, the one with the big rings, and said, "Come on, the floor's too dirty for a lady." And the patrons around us laughed as if it was a joke. I crawled up on my feet, did not look at him again, and ran out of that pub. I got into my car and drove out of there. My heart was going a mile a minute, and I could still feel their hands touching me. Joe and my assistant, they were the very last people on my mind. I relived that moment over and over again, and I don't even know how I got home. When I got home, I saw my sister sitting in the living room waiting for me. She just said my name and I started crying. I don't know if I've ever cried like that in my life. It was heartbreaking. I just wanted to crawl into a ball and disappear. The frustration of me being so small and weak that I ran away when faced by them. And the anger at him for lying for me just to go on and see his mistress. All I wanted at that moment was the earth to swallow me whole. At least I was not alone. Rosalinda was there, whispering comforts to me, and I did not manage to stop crying, but could not stop shivering. Because of that, she slept in my room that night. I was awake up until his car pulled into the driveway early in the morning, and he tried our bedroom door and found that it was locked. I did not know what I would say to him when the sun came out, and, well, I had to go downstairs for breakfast. Would I be able to hold myself and not end him at once for what he's done? Guys, I know. You guys are probably going to hate on me in the comment section because I did a story that kinda leaves a cliffhanger at the end. I'm sorry. There was no more updates on this story, but I will let you guys know the second an update comes out for this story. You can't admit, though, it was a wild ride of a story. I mean, what the heck? Guys, let me know your thoughts about this. Go ahead and drop your opinions down below. I want to thank you for joining me for today's content. And the second the updates release for this, you guys will be the first to see it. So make sure you smash that subscribe button, click the bell notification so you don't miss the update. Have an amazing day, and I will get you that update as soon as it's live. Have an amazing one, guys. Take care. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.